Ravioli.
If you click this video, you've probably got a PC, Xbox, or PlayStation, and a Nintendo Switch, and you're wondering, which Monster Hunter title should I be playing? Do I get Monster Hunter World, a graphically gorgeous and epic-looking adventure, or Monster Hunter Rise, a fast-paced, colorful, and portable experience? Well, shit, man, let's talk about it. By the way, I'm gonna keep this pretty spoiler-free. It's honestly kinda nuts that we live in a day and age where there are two perfectly legitimate choices for Monster Hunter titles to play. Typically, the newest release of Monster Hunter far overshadows its predecessor, and that's just not the case here. World is still an extremely solid game, despite Rise being the newest in the series. I mean, technically Rise is a spin-off title, it isn't exactly the successor to World, but it does take all of the good things from World and improves upon the bad. And before you go thinking, well, I guess I'll just play World, I don't have a Switch. Well, Rise will be coming out on PC in about a year or so. So yeah, currently we've got the choice between Monster Hunter World, which I include the Iceborne expansion in when I say World, and Monster Hunter Rise, the newest addition to the series. Cool, so Monster Hunter Rise wins. If only it was that simple. Both of these Monster Hunter games are going to give you solid monster slaying experiences, just as the title suggests. Seriously, how many more times am I going to have to explain to people that you hunt monsters in Monster Hunter? Seriously though, both games have brilliant combat. Things do differ slightly with Rise, giving you a bit more control in the mobility department, as well as being a little bit more fast-paced, but World introduced plenty of brand new changes to nearly all of the weapons that set a brand new standard for Monster Hunter games to come. I do personally prefer Rise's combat overall because of the newly added wirebug skills. The wirebug abilities
make you feel like Spider-Man.
You can use them to zip around the map, recover from hits, and each weapon has a few different wirebug skills that act like special moves. It adds a little more depth to each of the weapons, and now a whole bunch of weapons even have counter moves, which, I mean, come on, countering and attacking through a monster is extremely satisfying. I know the Dark Souls comparison is so overdone, but for real, Monster Hunter and Dark Souls are quite comparable when it comes to the actual fights. Monster Hunter World is like Dark Souls, where Monster Hunter Rise is like Bloodborne. The combat in Dark Souls requires a bit more patience, and Bloodborne rewards playing aggressively. The wirebug skills give you the ability to play a little more aggressively, which personally I like. Patience is not my thing, I'm just trying to I do still prefer some weapon styles in World over Rise, for example, my beloved hammer.
Alexa, show me my baby.
Okay.
There she is.
World added some of the best additions in recent titles to the hammer's moveset, like the power charge, spinning bludgeon, and big bang combo. Rise still has all of these, but they are now utilized a bit differently, and it doesn't really mesh as well with my playstyle. Still fun, but I prefer World. On the other hand though, Switch Axe in World was all about doing axie swings and kabooms with the zero-sum discharge, but now in Rise, I can use infinite sword mode thanks to wirebug skills and just constantly cut away at the monsters, a little more up my alley. So each game is going to have different playstyles with different weapons that suit you better. Between the games they are fairly similar, but the additions in Rise do definitely give them a different feeling. Both of these games have the same 14 weapons as well, so no matter which game you pick up, you'll definitely end up finding something you like. Monster Hunter World is a bit more of a slow burn. You'll take your time working your way through the story and unlocking things, as well as you'll get a bit more of an intimate experience with each monster before moving on to the next. It takes a bit more effort to craft items and weapons, which will cause you to focus more on the current weapon you're playing with. Monster Hunter Rise has streamlined things like weapon and armor crafting, making it easier to experiment with different weapons and armor skills, and overall just get into the hunts faster. For example, World has you chasing down scout flies and gathering monster tracks to eventually track a monster's location and then hunt it down, whereas Rise literally plops a big ass red arrow in front of you, pointing you in the direction of the monster. So really, it depends. Do you want to go on an adventure and explore a bit before hunting, savor the overall hunting experience, or do you just want to smack the shit out of an Azeros, get that part you need in, and go craft a shiny new weapon? Both games have a story. World is a lot more involved, sending you on tracking quests and giving you a lot of cool cutscenes, and Rise's story basically just gives you some reasons as to why you're hunting the monsters in the first place. There's only a couple of cutscenes at a couple points throughout the game, with a little bit of dialogue to point you in the right direction. World puts more emphasis on the single player story, where Rise just kind of uses it as a means to get you used to the game and then throws you into the online quests. Speaking of online, playing with your friends or playing with strangers in Monster Hunter Rise is easier than ever. And if you're thinking, online quests, I don't have friends to play with, you can easily send your quests out to other hunters for them to join and help you out, or you can just do the quest solo yourself. But anyways, the story has never been that important in Monster Hunter games. It's only gotten more focused since the release of World, so don't go into either of these expecting award-winning scripts or Oscar-worthy performances. There's some cool moments when you meet new monsters and stuff like that, but that's pretty much it. So really, it comes down to a matter of pacing. Either take it slow and experience the adventure with World, or become a regular Ed Gein and craft yourself a cute new armor set out of Azeros' dead cousin in Monster Hunter Rise. Another point I do want to make is, as much as Monster Hunter seems like a boss rush game with constant combat and action, there is a lot of downtime spent planning and building armor sets and weapons, and managing things like upgrading your available pre-hunt food choices and item farms in both titles. But in World, you'll spend more time on 1 or 2 armor sets and weapons, as the material costs and cash needed to progress multiple weapons gets quite hefty, and in Rise, they've purposely made it easier to craft weapons and armor, so you'll end up experimenting a whole lot more. I spent the majority of World playing Hammer, but in Rise, my time has been fairly evenly divided between multiple weapons because it's so easy to put together different armor sets and craft new weapons. And as for the item farms and such, Rise makes it extremely easy to get them going, and once you learn what you're doing, you'll never run out of potions again. The slowest and most boring part of Monster Hunter games is getting your item farms going, and Rise just makes it so easy. World is very much a new-gen Monster Hunter and was designed in a way that caters more to its Western audience, sitting itself snugly with other AAA titles. And it worked. There's more people than ever playing Monster Hunter now, but a lot of us were partial to the older style of things, the more colorful and goofy side of Monster Hunter. And that's exactly what Rise gave us. They took all the improvements from World and condensed them into a style more reminiscent of the classic Monster Hunter games. Think of it this way, World is Monster Hunter for normies. Rise is Monster Hunter for degenerate weebs. Now, with all that being said, at the time of this video's release, Rise is an incomplete game, and World is a fully fledged experience with the Iceborne DLC expansion. There's 2 years worth of content already there in World. Holy shit, my Canadian really came out there. But for Rise, there is at least 2 years of content on the way. Capcom is goated when it comes to support for Monster Hunter, always adding free event quests and content over a period of a few years. Rise has already gotten its first title update, which added and among other monsters. I know a lot of people are sick of games shipping incomplete, but with Monster Hunter there's already so much to do. Like, I had 100 hours sunk into it before the first title update dropped. It's like having a loaded burger to begin with and then getting a free order of fries, and a free drink, and a free dessert, and a coupon for a burger for next time. Now, I have to mention the graphics quick. There is an obvious difference between the two. For me personally, graphics were never really a make or break sort of thing for me, and the visuals have zero effect on whether I like Monster Hunter or not. Sure, World looks gorgeous with its realistic approach, but Rise looks just as pretty with its colorful and more animated style. And honestly, for a Switch game, I'm pretty blown away how great it really looks. So if you're on the Rise looks like a kid's game bandwagon, then just leave. Get out of here. Go away, Tony. The truth is, both of these games are incredible entries into the Monster Hunter series. World is a refreshing new take on the series, and Rise is a love letter to the old feel of Monster Hunter. So if you had to pick just one, I'm gonna have to say Monster Hunter Rise takes the cake. The quality of life improvements and the speedy gameplay loop make it a much more attractive game to me. It also has the potential to keep pulling me back in with every coming title update, so I'll be playing it for a long time to come. And you can play it portably. Monster Hunter on the go is a literal gift from God. So Rise is the obvious choice here, right? Wrong. If you think you'd end up playing both titles, then definitely start with World. For one, if you start with Rise and go back and try World later, you're gonna notice those quality of life improvements, and it's gonna sour the experience for you. So instead, get your fill of Monster Hunter World for the next year or two, and then pick up Rise and its inevitable DLC expansion. This way you get to experience all Monster Hunter Rise has to offer right from the get-go. But if you are planning on waiting to get the PC port, keep in mind it might not have all of the updated content that the Switch will have at that point in time. When they put World on the PC, it started just the same as it did when it came out on PS4, but they had an accelerated release schedule for all of that extra content. So keep that in mind. And if I had to give you one tip, just stick with it. Whichever game you pick, it's gonna take some time to learn all the systems and find a weapon that you like. But if you're enjoying the game at all, I implore you to push through the learning curve and give it an honest chance. Google is your best friend here. You can find info on pretty much everything, as well as my comments section is always open if you need a hand. I even have a Monster Hunter Rise video that could help you out with some weapon crafting information, and there's also great channels like Eric's Gaming that has tons of info for newbies at Monster Hunter. So to sum it all up, Monster Hunter is just an incredible series no matter which title you play. It'll destroy your life just as hard as you'll be destroying monsters' faces. Now this is a good game. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you do all that YouTube stuff, whatever. If you want to see some more of me, feel free to stop by my Twitch when I'm streaming or check out any of my other social medias. And once again, thank you guys so much for watching. I wouldn't be here without you, and I will see you next time.